Hello. Oh, good to see everybody in the house. Good to see you in the house this morning. Ray, I was seeing your like dong return silver. I see what you're saying, but at some point you play it safe just to be diversified. Oh no, I like both. But then I think if it goes for the values that we're hearing or anywhere close, how much do I really need? Hello, Jay and Amy. Hello, B Hoot, Step Network. Hello, Rusty Nail. Hello, Boo Hooer and Sooner DP. Good to see you. Grip Grip. Gas prices dropped a penny. Isn't it crazy? Oil drops $50 a barrel, but your gas price changes a penny. Oil goes up $5 a barrel. Your price at the pump goes up 10 cents. I mean, whatever. Do the math. It's all about working over the working man. Yeah, Stroobs, that's a good question. Did you get lucky and no Rumble ads this morning for you? Quester, watch the vid, mark everyone in Iran prisoners. Exactly. You get it. Pitt said our gas went up 12 cents. Hello, Bernard. Now that we're on the war off ramp for a brief period, it's time for things to start making a little more economic sense, maybe. Anna liberated double MarkZ on Wednesdays. Double Z Wednesdays. Sean, isn't that great? One for the thumb. Craig, buddy of mine, gave me that. I mean, that is a classic one for the thumb with Mean Joe Green. Flipper, I like that one. My thoughts are how can I help others? I like those thoughts. Gasoline options are currently down over 11%, so hopefully it'll make it to the pumps. Everybody's kind of hesitant today, waiting to see if it sticks. Hello, Carlsbad, New Mexico. I see Knox Patriot and Hoops. Hoops, let's see. A week ago, gas in our area was 289, 421 in one day. Yeah, Penny is on the wall. She's been tearing it up today. She's been funny. I started making my own wet cat food, and man, what a difference. She is way more energetic. Reminds you that the kibble is probably not the best thing for him. Kirby, good morning. Good to see you in the house. Many thanks. Hopefully, you're not living in your car today, driving all over the U.S. She's a mess. She is a mess. Joni's World, it is way easier than you would think to make your own cat food and dog food and pet food in general. Way easier than you think. And if you do the math, it's actually cheaper. Best quote of the day. Okay, who said this? Thank you to all who wanted Article 25 in post. Maybe just enough to convince Iran to take him seriously. In other words, he's crazy, senile old bastard. He'll just blow you up. You better take him seriously. Mushroom ladies, I like that. That is awesome. Whoa, slow it down. Kimberly, been making my own dog food for a while. It's made a it makes huge difference. I just crock pot. Keep it as simple as you can. Barely any bouillon to give it a little more flavor, just a little because it is not great for them. You want to get enough so they're going to want to eat it. I throw in a chicken breast, a little either chunk pumpkin or pumpkin broth when I can find it. Just put it in the crock pot like overnight. You want it so it shreds easily. You're better off chopping it when it's like across I'll call it across the grain of the breast of the chicken breast. You can use dark meat too. The oils would be good for them. Kind of chunk it a little before you long cook it so it's easier. So it's not like long shreds because they'll eat a whole shred like a spaghetti noodle. About time now. I appreciate that one very much. Music. I'm looking forward to seeing safety and security spread all over Iraq. This is, yeah, no, we've got a lot shaping up on that front to get into. Now, before I forget, Wall Street doesn't lose money on sell-offs. You do. They create the panic, wait for you to dump your position out of fear, scoop it up and discount. Big banks aren't selling their gold. They're buying yours. Every time, speaking of which, after this ad read, let me explain what happened with France's gold and the Federal Reserve, or the stories. They are really overinflated, and we've got to do some serious looking on that one. So the big banks aren't selling their gold, they're buying yours. Every time the headlights scream, regular people sell. And every time regular people sell, the institutions are right there, waiting with open hands. You built portfolio insurance for a reason. Don't let a red day hand it over to the people who caused it, purposely caused it so that you would do that. That's why I tell people to talk to Noble Gold Investments. They'll help you build a long-term plan and, more importantly, help you stick to it when the noise gets loud. The minor ups and downs, that's weather. The long-term trend, that's climate. And the climate has been favoring gold for 5,000 years. So the next time you see a dip and feel that knot in your stomach, ask yourself one question. Am I making this decision, or is Wall Street making it for me? Don't let them shake you out of the position you built to protect yourself. That's exactly what they want. Right now, all new qualified accounts will receive a free 10th ounce America Gold Eagle as a thank you. Real gold in your hands. That's the whole point. Find out more by going to MarkZgold.com or NobleGoldInvestments.com. And you can find the link in the description on YouTube and on Rumble. Are you ready to rumble? Really beautiful disaster. Make my own laundry detergent so much cheaper and without all the garbage. Used to make my own dog food as well. I didn't know that was a thing on the laundry detergent. I have to get you to send me a recipe. About time now. Thank you for that super sticker. Ooh, freeze drying raw dog food. That's a pretty good idea. I really want a good dehydrator, a freeze dryer. Trip, what is your take on some who are saying there will never be a revaluation but a redenomination by simply dropping the zeros? Then they're not paying attention to the right reforms papers. They're not paying attention to what Alok said, what Sudani said, what Shabibi said, what the CBI has said, what Warren Buffett has said, what Donald Trump has said, what central banks all around the world have said. They've said that they were going to lift the purchasing power and remove the zeros. They're going to make the dinar the father of the dollar again. They're going to return it to its glory as the most valuable currency on the world. I don't know what part of dropping zeros, not changing the value at all, just changing the look, does to any of those. In other words, Trip, you can listen to them if you want to. But the evidence is overwhelmingly against them if they would just take the time to read and look at it. Now, it's really easy to say it's never going to happen because it hasn't happened yet. It is way, way easy to take the lazy mental approach and do that. Or you can exercise your brain. You can really exercise your brain. You can look at what they said. You can look at their economics. You can look at how their currency got devalued. And you can make a logical decision. So either the people saying it's not are smarter than all the wealthiest, smartest, most plugged-in investors around the world, or they're just listening to the rhetoric because they don't want you to have a chair at this table. See, isn't that neat? Cheryl Peterman said, I too make my own laundry detergent, dishwater, tabs, pods. This is great. No word on lower denomination notes. Nothing I've heard. Let's see. Mark, your thoughts. Frank26 says no redemption centers. We need to contact your bank, start a redemption relationship with a wealth manager. Tilly Bob, I can't believe we're even having that conversation. The problem is people are fixated with calling a redemption center. When I say it's a redemption center or a redeeming bank, I mean you're going to a bank that has the personnel that know how to exchange. Have you ever come back from a trip across the seas, or no family or friends that have come back from a trip across the seas and they want to turn it? They've got some, like, I don't know, maybe euros or shillings or pence or something from another country. And they go to the bank to turn it in to get back US dollars that they can spend. Your branch may not know how to do it. So they'll be like, well, we're going to need to send it off. Or you can go take it to the branch over on Friendly Street or something like that. You can either take it to the branch that has the training and the equipment to deal with it, or you can wait and they send it off for you. And it takes a little longer to get your deposit, but you didn't have to drive across town or maybe to a bigger town. All we're calling a redemption center is a bank with trained staff to redeem so they don't have to send it off and you have to wait. That's all we're talking about. But for some, beat me in the head. Frank seems to get all pissy about it being called a redemption center. All we're calling is a redeeming bank. It's one of those, okay, McFlies. So, Tilly Bob, don't let that throw you off. It's people fighting over what you call it. A rose by any other name is a rose. So, anyways, my thoughts on that whole redemption center redeeming bank thing. It is the stupidest, most asinine conversation gurus have. And they seem to continue to have it. Yeah, Pitbull's back. Yeah, it does. It just, I think for too long, because I felt like this thing was right around the corner, I just let things like that slide. But it's one of those, just come on, McFly. For the love of God, come on, McFly. I don't care if you call it a boot or a trunk on your car. We know what you mean. We're going to put the luggage in the back, call it a trunk, call it a boot, call it whatever the hell you want. Redeeming bank, redemption center, call it what you want to call it. It's one of those, it's just 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds fight over stuff like that. Grown, logical thinking adults don't waste their time fighting over terminology like that. I love this one. Nancy says, I asked to tell her to drive up if she's prepared to do foreign currency exchange. She said, I've been trained on multiple programs. Alex Franco, we'll talk about bond. Oh, we're already, man, time has flown this morning. Let's get to it. Pitter patter. It is time to get at her. Where do we want to start this morning? On your bond side, folks, it is too early. Meaning, a lot of expectation. We had a lot of folks saying that if we had a peace settlement, a solid peace settlement, we would see those bond funds move like immediately. It is simply too early. That ceasefire, less than 24 hours. We're talking about what, 12 hours ago? Roughly 14 hours ago. You are too soon to have a big bond update. I am hoping to get some bond news this afternoon as they get updates. In other words, you're in the same boat that the bondholders are in this morning. We are all waiting for them to get an update today after the changes, and there are some very big political changes. Everybody's jacking it up, the rhetoric. You got to love this one. Okay, Al Carwi. So it totally depends on your perspective. Iran has won over Washington and the entity. The armistice agreement is an end to American arrogance. So as far as the spin coming out of Iran is, we won, America back down. We are mighty. Guys, if the wind changes direction in Iran, they claim a victory that they change the air coming from America. I mean, if a bird flies off a telephone line or a power line, if it's still standing in Iran, they claim that they beat the American evil Zionist empires around the world because the bird flew to the right instead of the left. When you listen to anything coming out of Iran, how often has it been even kind of close to reality? Of course, you can say that about most governments and news in today's world, but more so about Iran than any other nation on the world. They're full of crap. Camel crap, goat crap, pick some crap. Their leadership lies. And it is perfectly okay for them morally and ethically to lie to you because you are, well, an infidel. So when you hear news coming out of there, take it with, I don't know, a caravan of salt that you just picked up at the local oasis. It's crap. So keep that in mind. Yeah, Macman, isn't that truth? We all need this to happen so we can quit getting frustrated. Actually, I have found that letting mine out has really helped. Sorry, you guys have to be here for that therapy session. Farmer V, camel crap, my new swear word. I like it. All right, so we talked about the rhetoric, and I just wanted you guys to keep in mind, it is rhetoric. Both sides are going to claim massive victories because they want to look good in front of their people. It is like, it's a political stunt. Always is. Hello, Rudy. It's good to see you. Jay and Amy, my new mantra. It's crap, I tell you. Crap, 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 crap. It's crap. Yeah, it is. So let's get to Soleil. In light of or move to approve a $40 billion emergency budget. So Iraq is, until oil revenues return, they're taking care of their temporary gridlock. They're moving forward very quickly. All eyes are on April 11th in Iraq right now. So they got a temporary budget. Saleh al-Hasnawi is advancing as a settlement candidate. Maliki, some of the other parties saying, okay, if it can't be Maliki, then this is who it needs to be. Coordination framework is still trying to keep Maliki's hat in the ring. Not going to work. Right now, leading the charge, and I told you guys that this was the move. They were looking at a third candidate, a compromise candidate to make governments around the world happy with this ceasefire. If it were more clear, did somebody win? Did somebody have the upper hand? Although, arguably, for any thinking individual out there, the U.S. benefits from this. Why, you say? Well, obvious reasons. We can rearm. Our shores haven't been basically completely cut off. We have taken it's cost us probably $50 billion, but we've cost them hundreds of billions of dollars, and we had a bigger pocketbook. So from a war of attrition status, standing, or whatever, we can reload planes. We can move more armament into position. They're pretty limited on what they can do. So any ceasefire greatly benefits the U.S. side of this. Really doesn't benefit Iran any, other than it gives them a chance to count their casualties. 2 weeks, we will see how productive it is. We'll find out if the Trump rhetoric is right or the Iranian rhetoric is right, or probably the reality is neither one of them are really accurate. But what's closer to reality is what we're going to find out in the coming days, coming 2 weeks, if the peace lasts for 2 weeks. A lot of it's going to depend on what does Iran do. Hours after the supposed ceasefire, they were still making strikes against other Gulf nations and states. Could that be because their command structure has been brutalized? That is most likely it. Their command control structure was designed to survive if you cut off the head after the head after the head. So you've got a lot of individually acting individuals within the Iranian Guard. So it may just taken a while for them to get the notice that, hey, we signed a ceasefire, because nobody is truly in charge in the country right now. So keep that in mind as we are going through this one. It is a very tender peace process so far this morning. Lady Rebel, happy belated birthday. Trying to catch up to me. I'll pull ahead next month, though. So just keep all of that one in mind. It didn't sound like, but it is better this morning. In other words, it took hours for them to stand out. The ceasefire does appear to be, for the most part, working right now. Perfect observation there. Manhattan Born said that was the IRGC, not the real Iranians. Mika, no, dear God, stop doing that. Stop jumping on every little thing as the reason for your delay, Mika. You're gonna cause yourself an aneurysm if you keep doing that. We don't know the timing. If the bond people are right and they're happy with this peace process, things are going to be really excellent over this coming weekend or middle to third week of the month. Warnings. Here's a great example of why we need gold. Financial pressures threaten Iraq's gold reserves, put economic stability at risk. Oh my God, wait a minute. What do you mean? Iraq, along with many countries around the world, they had gold as a hedge in case of things like war, monetary debasement, things like that. So they had this gold as a hedge so that if things got bad, they could still afford to feed their people, take care of their government, etc. Iraq's government, or their economic spigot, was turned off. So now they may have to sell some of their gold. That's their security, right? But this is exactly why they have it. So gold has served its absolute purpose in Iraq. A great example. Other countries around the world have had to dip into theirs to do the same thing to cover the bills. That's why you have it. It's your economic insurance. So when you read this one, don't go, oh my God, this is bad. But also remember that some of the central banks and countries that are selling it may cause a temporary drop in the price. Now, remember, when things get good, they're going to be purchasing it again. So watch gold's role in this process. It should tell you what asset you need to be betting on. I love that one. It was a perfect working example of what we have been talking about, of what Andy Schegman talks about. Perfect working example. Now, we do have a couple of fun ones. Trip, thank you so much for that one. Much appreciated. Bernard with some intel. Mark, the Iranian Guard fractured into 31 different sections after the central command was taken out. It's called the Mosaic Defense. It's not a willing strategy. It's a death knell. Why do you think the IRGC is now enlisting 12-year-olds in its military? Yeah, that is one thing that we have talked about, guys. Kind of difference in the country. The U.S. raising the limit, meaning, what is it, like into your early 40s now from 39, where you can go into the military? Meaning we want more qualified or military people that want to come back. Iran did something different. They lowered theirs. 12-year-old boys can now willingly join the Iranian military. 12-year-old boys. Children. So yeah, if things were going great in Iran, why would they be dropping their recruitment to 12-year-old boys? Things were growing great in the Ukraine. Why are they abducting men off the streets, pulling them into vans, giving bounties to inscription officers that go abduct men and put them in the military? Does that make any sense to anybody out there? If their narratives are all correct, Iran is the great winner in this. Why are they putting children on bridges? Why are they putting missiles in schools? Why are they putting arms and military command in hospitals, human shields? Guys, that's not winning. That is all crap. Children soldiers can be ruthless. Mark, they can, because they don't understand the consequences. That is part of why the U.S. military likes young men 18 to 21, 18 to 25. A lot of militaries around the world will not let men serve that early because the risk reward portion of their brain has not formed completely yet. Somewhere between 21 and 25 before guys have a real brain, ladies. If you hadn't figured it out, we're a little slow developing. So I just love that one. But now we do have two fun ones, guys. And one, they both landed in my inbox from some of you guys. And the timing really was serendipitous on this one because it's one of the currencies we just do not talk about often. So what a great opportunity. Over in Indonesia, Indonesia's central bank intervenes in the foreign exchange market after the rupiah hits a record low. So this is yesterday news that they had to go in and jump because dollar demand went up. Wartime, people want something that they feel is a little safer. But that article came at the same time. In other words, they need a stronger currency. Now, just last year, I mean, almost a year to the day, they released this article over at Reuters in Indonesia. Indonesia plans a bill to redenominate the rupiah currency. That they talked about wanting to lift the currency and make it easier to use because it'll have fewer zeros with its increased purchasing power. So I just thought it was great. I know the one article is from last year. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, matter of fact, no, okay, not a whole year, November 7th, 2025. So they've already told us how they're going to address it. Now they're telling us, hey, I think we're going to have to move this up. Now, in that new bill and redenomination process, they told you they would do it sometime between then, which was 2025, and 2027. What is between 2025 and 2027? 2026. You're in it. I just thought that one was a neat one. Happened to come together, so I was pretty excited. Oh, yes, BJH. Thank you on the France gold. Mm. Voice is holding up better today, but still not great. Let's see if I've got some. I can pull my. What was it, David Letterman? No, it was Johnny Carson that used to do that with paper, I think. France made a lot of papers. Yeah, France pulling their money out of the Federal Reserve or U.S. storage. There's a lot of back and forth in this story. So, anyways, so France supposedly had 129 tons. Let's say that again. So supposedly France had 129 tons in the U.S. and supposedly what they did when they say they took their gold, they didn't take their gold, they sold their gold. They supposedly sold 129 tons, metric tons of gold in New York, and then supposedly they replaced it. They said they sold their gold in the U.S. and bought the gold in Europe, so they didn't have to ship it, re-hallmark it. What do we know about the gold in Europe, London Metals Exchange, the LME, and all those? They don't have much gold. They have a liquidity problem. They just don't have enough supply for demand. So I'm kind of curious how France supposedly sold this past month 129 tons when there's an extreme shortage in Europe for physical gold. Folks, I think France is playing a game. I could be wrong on this one, but I highly doubt that they sold 129 physical tons and then turned around in Europe and bought 129 physical tons. No, my guess is they made a good gold sale, and that's part of why our price dropped, because that you release that much on the market is going to cause a temporary blip. But what did they buy there? Because physical wasn't available. So what did they do? Buy paper? Yeah, no, I think the people of France just got bamboozled and snowed over when they said, oh, yeah, no, you're fine. We still have gold. We just sold it there because we don't like the Americans and we bought it over here. No, sir. I think France just bailed out. I think France figured out it didn't have a chair when the music stopped. That's what makes the most sense. Let's see how the devaluation of the dollar will impact an exchange rate being held, or have they locked in a set rate? Dwayne, I think when we hear, this is a good one. It's a really good question, Dwayne. I think when we hear the very high approaches, when they tell me I am wrong, or somebody saying, man, you're way under on evaluation, what they're being told, I think we're kind of looking at it two different ways. I think I'm looking at it based on today's dollar, and I think they have priced in to those locked values. I think they've priced in a devaluation of the US dollar by roughly 50%. That is my gut. That is what it looks like from the outside. So you're hearing values as high as $5 to $7 for a dong instead of like 2.5. So logically, they say they got to devalue the dollar to reassure manufacturing. Wouldn't it make sense that that's exactly what is happening? That those high prices, when we hear dinar, could be $12, $14, $16, $25. You start looking at those prices, you look at what we were told, maybe $4 to $6 way back when. And if you devalue the dollar, that 4 to 6 is suddenly 8 to 12. That $10 is $20. That 2.25 for dong is suddenly $4.50, $5. I think that is exactly what we have been watching in those valuations, Dwayne, is they're pricing in a devaluation of the US dollar. What about price difference on silver? Arthur, I'm not certain I understand when you mean price difference. Are you referring to the difference between physical silver in the States and physical silver in the rest of the world, where we're more manipulated by paper than they are? I'm not certain what you mean on that one. Joyful voice, exactly. I guess that is the takeaway. If you have foreign currency, if you have gold and silver, if you have commodities, if you have food, seed, You don't need to worry about if they devalue your dollar. Now, if all your holdings are in US dollars and you've not diversified to anything physical that people need, then yeah, you should be worried about that devaluation. But if you guys have prepared yourself, like 99% of this community, you kind of want to embrace the devaluation of the dollar. Mitchell, that Mark, that makes sense because the second that one currency is backed by gold, all other currencies not backed by gold will devalue even further. Exactly, Mitchell. Exactly. Oh wait, Halia Hannah's 10th. Okay, I'm going to totally mess this one up because I've been so discombobulated this morning when I got off on my tirades. Something to keep in mind at the gas pumps, OPEC is greatly increasing production allowances for this month for most countries to make up for what we just went through. A lot of places are going to need to refill gas tanks under the ground. A lot of strategic reserves were released. So OPEC, plus it gives an opportunity for these countries that are used to a certain amount of revenue to recover some of that lost revenue. So they have greatly increased allowable production levels. Some big OPEC meetings in the last 24 hours and overnight. I wanted to make a point to say that because it will bring us a little extra relief at the pump, but not a full reversal. That will take time because they will at those higher levels. They've got to restock supplies, etc. So it's going to create some artificial demand as they refill those. Kathy, happy birthday. Wait, I'm not seeing this one, Seawolf. Venezuela claimed the Falklands again. They also believe that Guyana, both English and French Guyana, should belong to them as well. Hegseth declares victory is a fragile Iran ceasefire held. This is part of it. U.S. is saying that Iran has agreed to a 15-point thing. Iran is saying the U.S. agreed to their 10 points, and they won. The U.S. is saying they agreed to our 15 points. We won. My only cautionary tale is, guys, don't get your panties in a wad over this one. Give it a couple of days. It'll become very clear as negotiations move in the coming days who has the upper hand on this one, who the real winner is. You're going to see it and how the negotiations proceed. You will find out if there's a winner, if there's a loser. If Iran starts striking things, they weren't the winner. If the U.S. starts bombing things and Iran did nothing, it's going to tell you a lot. It's going to become very clear. You're going to be able to rise above all this smoke and confusion in the coming days because you're going to see how they behave, who capitulates, who compromises, etc. Exactly. It is just bloviating. It's exactly what it is. Argentina wants the Falklands. No, Lynn, I know. If you study, I did a deep dive on the Falklands. I don't even remember why, but I did one. It's interesting. It's a little controversial. It's the insider traders calling the shots in this war. Mark Jameson, it always has been, hasn't it? And that's what we have to change. And I have a thought and an idea for you guys after the news today. A pause negotiated deal, some caveats. Here we just get into it. I very much think we are very far from a deal. I could be surprised. They could come together with one very quickly. And that's going to depend on just how weakened Iranian government is. I think this peace process will last long enough maybe to get bonds out, and then we're going to go back at it. That's my thought. I hope I'm wrong. I've not seen anything about North and South Korea coming together. I've always considered that an eventuality as North Korea collapses, but we'll see. Oh, Seawolf. That's interesting. Argentina's always claimed the Falklands. Venezuela's actually made some claims on the Falklands too when I studied the history, and I was surprised on that one. But their claim goes back to like early 1900s, I think. But keeping in mind that is a back and forth. Venezuela, Brazil, and Argentina, those three major powers for the most part, have been busy divvying up South America back and forth. Mark or anyone else, answer your opinion. Do you think the Bolivar will exchange at 1 cent or 30 cents? I think, Tammy, and it is not based on any facts, just rumors. I think it's going to revalue at 0.03 of a cent. But when you look at those number of zeros, it's a massive number still. But when I say that, guys, I have not, in my opinion, received any credible take on rates on the Bolivar from day one. I keep hearing it's in there, it's great. I've got attorneys, paymasters that are very invested in it, but I've yet to hear anything that I consider a feasible, logical rate. Not for lack of trying. Some of the other crazy stuff going on in the world before Zester joins us and we do our birthday thing. Although, he might be the perfect person to sing this week. Kanye West banned from the UK. Wireless festival canceled at Home Office revokes a travel authorization. He was supposed to be headline a music festival for 3 days in England. The British government, the UK government, said he is too controversial. He'll cause too much unrest. We can't have him in our country. The same UK that just had a known terrorist leader with Starmer getting red carpet treatment. But Kanye West, because he's a conservative, don't get me wrong, he's kooky. But Kanye is not allowed one because he might be controversial. A known terrorist that has killed people, has waged war, trained other terrorists, no problem. Kanye West, because he might say something, I don't know, about Christianity, may say something about conservative right-wing politics. Of course, keeping in mind, guys, that loving your country and singing a national anthem is now only for bigoted, hateful, terrorist people, domestic terrorists. No other calm, rational people would ever love their country. I mean, it really has gone completely bonkers. Janine, normally we don't let all those emojis, but I like that one. Yeah, UK is imploding. It's outrageous. It's offensive to the British people. For the love of God, you find terrorists safer than a music star. You find terrorists. You're better with terrorists than you are with somebody that says something you don't like. You would rather get bombed and blown up. Your daughter's raped. People stabbed all over the malls. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. So yeah, Ye, aka Kanye, not allowed, not welcome in the UK. If I were him, I would find another neighboring country and move the festivities and go enjoy them. The left, I really do want to touch on some of these. Voice, I'm hoping it'll make it. Let's do these in this order. And Zester, hopefully you're up for singing happy birthday songs today. Hey, he's smiling in the background. He just popped into the studio. I'm going to save this one because I do want to read part of this one to you because it is so spot on. But this also makes me think, and I'm going to get Zester's take and your take. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. I'm going to wait on that one. We're going to come right to it, though. Exposing the FBI's human experimentation studies. I'm a twin, so this one really kind of cut home. But it is also a reminder that during every party that has been in power, Republicans, Democrats, they have all done very evil things to the American people. And this is true in governments around the world. So I just thought I would continue to point it out. Who was in charge during the Tuskegee experiments? Who was in charge when we were making a bomb and testing nuclear waste, when we killed a whole um, girls' Christian camp with radioactive waste? I mean, I'm trying to think of all the things in American history where we have done some horrendous things to its people. And it has been absolutely independent of the party you like. I just want to drive that one home because they are both screwing you. Of course, that's what makes the MAGA movement different. It's not about parties. It's more closely attached to the Republican Party. But the MAGA movement, it crosses party lines. It doesn't care because they just want to make America great. They don't care. They perfectly willing to call out a rhino. Keep that in mind. Now, as we get into this one, exposing the FBI's human experimentation studies. Who has my saliva from 10 years ago on the FBI studies involving serial killers, twins, facial recognition, and genetics? You're only going to create a real problem for an FBI employee if you call them direct this way. Senior FBI official Thomas Gregory Motto was upset that I dared to call him to talk about the Bureau's hidden experiment on humans. He joined the Bureau in 1998, was promoted to the FBI's senior ranks nearly 20 years ago. During his tenure, the Bureau has grown proficient at snooping on journalists, as documented in a secret government report published by Racket News, without having to face their questions. Motto is a decorated FBI veteran, credited with an Intelligence Community Award in 2007 for modernizing the American government's most important foreign espionage tool and having worked on the secretive Going Dark National Surveillance Program. Our FBI, pretty much in bed with the CIA. How do we control this? Drugs, LSD, drugging twins to see what the effects is on one and the other. Guys, this is modern history. We're not backing up to some Tuskegee experiments. We're not backing up to World War II, testing nuclear bombs and waste. We're talking about our own modern history. When Bill Clinton, Bush Jr., Obama, Trump, Biden, we're still experimenting on people. And you ask me why? I don't believe in our parties because both parties have done this to us. No, we need our own party. We have got to stop accepting this. We've got to stop expecting this. And this one was a great one. But I think about this article. Yeah, we've been lab rats. I mean, greatest medical experiment of all time, mRNA vaccines. How many guinea pigs ran off and stepped right up? British established. Oh, absolutely. One thing you're going to find, Katani, the Canadian government loves doing evil experiments on its people, and their preferred lab partner is the U.S. government when they do experiments on the people. Tuskegee experiments. Canadian government was part of that, along with the El Salvadorian government. I'm trying to think of like all the governments that were involved in this. And that's just one example of many. Canadian government wanted Indian children to assimilate. So they went into the reservations, took the children, and gave them to white families to adopt them so that they would, well, bring them into the cultural fold. You look at governments, and I'm not picking on just one individual. I mean, we can go on and on and on. These are our leaders from around the world. But this one, real quick one. The left is baffled but still repulsed by the white working class. Democrats can rebrand candidates, but they can't hide a long record of condescension towards the very working class voters they now need to win back. Hey, yep, they gave us Tim Walz. They're putting their guys in plaid. They're telling them to grow beards so that they look like competent working white men, so that the party can gain back some trust. Do you feel pandered to? And they talk about it openly. Kind of like Kamala when she's like in the South. She would pick up a Southern accent. They just like chameleons. They tell you what they think. Tim Walz bought a pickup truck just for the campaign season, so he looked like a good old regular Joe. Started wearing plaid. I didn't buy it. Did you buy it? So this Pete Buttigieg, they're trying to make him more manly. before the next election. They're doing the same thing with Gavin Newsom. And they openly talk about how they need to connect at that level. They're not talking about how they need to change anything. They're talking about how they need to repackage their liberal, trans, everything else ideologies so that people accept it. There's nothing wrong with their ideology. It's all in their delivery of that ideology is what they think. We need a third party. Because what happens when Trump goes? What's going to happen to the whole MAGA thing? What's going to happen to all the independents that cross the line to vote? What's going to happen with the disenfranchised Democrats, the disenfranchised Republicans because of rhinos? I don't know. What do you think, Zester? I think it's a golden opportunity in time to start a third.
Well,
independent of party lines. In other words, one that can grab the middle to represent the independent and go this way or that way to move voting blocks. That's where the real power is.
Oh, the problem is without a complete overhaul, that third party is just going to result in whichever party it pulls the most from, which in that situation would probably be the Republican Party. Losing.
Yeah, see, I guess I'm taking it this. The largest segment of the American voting populace is now independent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you add up the Republican Democratic Party, they're less than 50% of the voting block.
Yeah.
So how do you find that independent? How do you get that disenfranchised? I'm curious. Do you call it a blue collar party? Do you call it the working class party? Do you put a cool name on it? Does it even have a chance? I mean, because the party system is so entrenched.
Achieve party change is because unless we're going to erase the two-party system and we're going to start over, the only way to change it is from the inside. And so for me, it's just going to really depend on MAGA needs to start branding away from Trump. I guess would be what needs to happen.
Yeah, and guys, that's not me turning on Trump or any of those things. Some of his
continues
behavior is downright baffled me, but for some reason, later down the road, it makes sense why he did it. So I'm going to assume for now that it's all part of his negotiating. But no, you're right. We've got to step away from him because he's 80 years old?
Yeah.
I mean, we've got to
absolutely. It's the same idea. We know when someone's going to step down in the corporation, they've got to have that person who's going to take over after them. Same thing in anything. If you want the family bakery to continue being a family bakery, then someone in the family is going to have to step into the position at some point. And so I think they need to start preparing.
Yeah, I do too. I don't think JD Vance is that person.
JD Vance. JD Vance has done really a masterclass in terms of branding himself as the future of MAGA. He's only had a very few slip-ups. And
I think he's more branding himself for a White House run. I don't think he's branding himself to run like a MAGA movement or a party. I think he's branding himself just for his White House stint. I mean, he's with Viktor Orban in Hungary, helping his election thing. I mean, he's doing a lot of things that bring his visibility up, but not a whole lot of things that brings up white, black, Hispanic, working class, Indian, pick a group, working class people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeing him really pander to them any. I see him, pander is maybe not the right word. I don't see him. Looks like to me he's more worried about the White House than he is about the future of America and the working class.
Mm-hmm.
From the outside. You guys sound off if you think I am absolutely batty and you think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
He's very good on his feet. He's very, very good on his feet. He's got
He's good. Yeah, he is.
And so in that regard, it's kind of hard to tell whether he's as on our team as he makes himself out to be.
At the end of the day, will you kind of explain? I'm not really fully up to speed. I understand the Alkanet creates but at the end of the day, after we talk crypto and all those, because I've had so many people ask me, how does it work, etc. And you've already started on it. So at the end, I don't want to take away from, but I've had so many questions.
Yeah, it's been two plus years in development. Definitely a passion project because of how important it is to our family health on that one. So I'm excited to get to talk about that one a little bit, but I'll save that for the end. On the crypto side, today might actually be a little bit shorter than some of the other ones, but what I really wanted to focus and talk on is XRP. We're going to go through a little bit of a basics of understanding of XRP and the XRP ecosystem. I felt like that would be something that would be very helpful for a lot of folks in the community. We're all holding XRP, or at least a lot of folks are, and understanding the basics, how it works. Why are there 100 billion of them in circulation? How are in total supply? Why is the circulating supply only somewhere around 60 billion? Where did the tokens start at? How does the blockchain work? We're going to go through all the basics and learn some of the different terms around it so that folks are a little more knowledgeable about what's being talked about. What's the difference between XRPL and Ripple Labs or another blockchain? It's a lot of terms that get confusing. But first things first, we need to do a little bit of an update on the overall markets. And so I'm going to go ahead and take your screen down, Pops, and add mine in here. All right. And so overall, the market has actually seen a little bit of a bounce back. Bitcoin sitting back above 71,000, but XRP still sitting at $1.35 at exactly this point. But I'm going to keep it sitting right here because we're going to be referencing back to XRP when we start going through the basics. On the Crypto Clarity Act for an update for everyone, unfortunately, we've not seen any movement since the last update on this front. Just as a reminder, the Crypto Clarity Act is extremely important in the overall progression towards the Bitcoin Act, towards the gold revaluation, at least in that format. I think there's other ways that could occur, but it's a stopgap measure, and it's one that we can clearly follow along with in a legislative sense. And so I mention it on account of that. We are starting to get even closer to a deadline on this one and midterms taking over. And so as of right now, of course, everybody over in the Senate, they get nice long vacations. And so there isn't anything going on as they're all on Easter vacation at this point in time. But when they get back to work in the next couple of days, hopefully we will get some answers on the Clarity Act. If we continue to push this any closer, really, to the midterms, we're probably going to need to start to expect that we're not going to see the Clarity Act until after the midterms are settled. And now, not to be all doom and gloom on that front, according to Brad Garlinghouse over at XRP, he still believes there's an 80 to 90% chance that we're going to see this thing passed and on Trump's desk by sometime in May. Same thing over there with Senator Cynthia Lummis. Polymarket odds have it between 63 and 66% that we'll see the Clarity Act pass in 2026. There still seems to be a lot of optimism on that front, but we are having to be realistic. When it comes down to it, that can all be derailed by escalation in Iran or the beginning of the extreme campaign season on midterm side, where you're just not going to see anybody want to make any decision that may potentially influence any voter. Beyond that one, as we had talked about, it's all about stablecoin yields. Compromise had been achieved on the Clarity Act, at least on the stablecoin side. That compromise was you cannot receive interest off of stablecoins if it looks, smells, walks like a bank account. If it's passive, no risk, it's just sitting there, you're not doing anything, well, that's not allowed. And so we have heard now, though, from White House economists that they do not believe the bank argument. They do not believe that banning stablecoin yield was going to be something that actually benefited the banks in the long run. And really, their argument is just that it only hurt us, which I would have to agree with. But hearing it come out of the White House, well, it is, while I feel not, while I'm happy that they went ahead and told us that our concerns are valid and that it really was all a silly endeavor, it's also quite frustrating when you consider these same White House economists were the ones at the negotiating table when we got sold such a bad bill of goods on this one. But as we've talked about previously, the necessity and need for a framework and the foundation for how this is meant to be regulated and operated is so important for us that we really are willing to take some pretty suboptimal stances in the negotiations. And I am speaking in that regard entirely from the crypto side of the discussion. Not what we wanted. It's suboptimal, but at this point in time, it looks like it's what we're going to get. And it doesn't take away the self-custodian side of it. It doesn't take away the ability to earn interest. It just changes how it will have to be done. All right, though, with that one, there really has not been a lot of crazy news on the crypto side. And that's why today I wanted to kind of rush through it and get straight to talking about XRP itself. How does it work? How long has it been around? We're going to go through and we're just going to do a little bit of a full basic tour of what XRP is all about, because there is so much going on, and particularly for XRP itself. And now we're no longer really in the time where people are learning about how these blockchains operate. I think it's important that we go back and we do that. It allows you to really understand a lot about the differences between, say, a Bitcoin and an Ethereum and an XRP. Why are they different? What are they doing? And so let's just go through the first ones, the major confusion points. XRP, the three letters. XRP itself is the coin that is actually on the XRP ledger. XRPL is the blockchain. This often is confusing. I will absolutely state that I regularly probably make it more confusing because I'll conflate the terms as I'm quickly talking about things XRP related. I'll be rolling through and I'll go, well, we have this going on the XRP ledger. What I'm saying is it's going on the XRP blockchain, but it may be something that's being done by Ripple Labs. Ripple Labs is the company that actually operates the XRP ledger, that builds payment solutions onto the XRP ledger or blockchain. And so this is one that very much at the beginning is confusing because it seems like a bunch of ways of saying the exact same thing, and it's actually not. XRP, which you see right here, that is the coin. That's the coin that you use to pay for services on the XRP ledger. And you can imagine that if you want to really oversimplify it, those are your Chuck E. Cheese tokens. They are good in Chuck E. Cheese. That is definitely a very shallow description of what, or metaphor, but it's simple and it's accurate. You spend XRP in order to do things on the XRP ledger. It is your Chuck E. Cheese tokens to be used in Chuck E. Cheese. But it's doing a heck of a lot more than just terrifying children with creepy rat animatronics. And so, Ripple Labs, when you hear about Brad Garlinghouse, he works at Ripple Labs. When you hear about these different people, they work at Ripple Labs, the company. It is a private company. It builds products on the XRP ledger. Now, as they would tell you, they did not create XRP for themselves. The founders gifted 80 billion XRP to Ripple, the company, in order to build the ecosystem. And so, Ripple Labs originally held 80 billion XRP coins. And so when we look over here at the max supply, it's 100 billion. That means that Ripple Labs controlled 80% of all of the XRP that will ever exist, because 100 billion, when it comes down to how these tokenomics work, these are hard numbers. It can't change. There will only ever be 100 billion XRP. And so Ripple uses XRP. Ripple utilizes XRP in order to build things, in order to send transactions, and they use it also as the means of funding the company Ripple Labs. And so you can kind of think about this if you wanted to place it into an infrastructure. type scenario, XRP Ledger is the public roads. Those are the highways, the interstates. They're available for everyone. But Ripple Labs, the company, they're the ones that are driving the development of these roads. They're the ones that are expanding the highway system. They're the ones that are building on it. And they're also the ones that are sending traffic down it. Now, we come to a interesting one that oftentimes gets folks confused as well. How does XRP, the ledger, work? Because it's different. Now, a lot of people know a lot about how Bitcoin works because you've heard so much about it in the news. Things like, well, it uses so much power. Well, it makes so much heat. Well, they're solving math problems. Typically, it's oversimplified, but at the heart of it, that is true. Bitcoin operates on what is known as a proof of work system. Miners essentially burn massive amounts of electricity racing to solve math puzzles. And these math puzzles are progressively getting harder and harder and harder. Now, whichever of these miners manages to solve it first receives that reward of Bitcoin for having solved it. And now once a consensus is achieved, and so other computers solve it, they all come out to the same answer, it is then added to the next block. And it is then cauterized. It's immutable, it's transparent, and it cannot be reverted. This requires an insane amount of electricity. To place it into context, it is as much electricity as the country of Argentina uses, is what is necessary in order, or not what is necessary, but what is currently being used to mine Bitcoin would be equivalent to the amount of electricity necessary of powering the country of Argentina. Now, Ethereum. Ethereum works on a proof of stake system. And so that means that what people do is you actually take your Ethereum, you lock it in, and you say, hey, you guys got this Ethereum, my Ethereum coin for however long, years, and then you are rewarded in the form of Ethereum for having done so. And what it is doing is it's also solving the math problem. It's also essentially doing what Bitcoin was doing with math problems. It's doing by having people stake large amounts of capital into it, and then those nodes are validating. Same idea. All of the nodes need to agree in order for that block to be added to the Ethereum blockchain. Well, here's where things are different. XRP does not work on a proof of stake system, nor on a proof of work system. And as everyone knows, Bitcoin is particularly slow. 15 minutes essentially could be, would be a fairly fast transaction time on some Bitcoin transfers. Ethereum, a lot faster. Well, XRP, much, much faster. And it has a lot of different things it's capable of doing because it utilizes a federated consensus blockchain mechanism. And so, what does that mean? There is not actually mining. There is no mining. There is no staking. There is no massive electricity use in order to validate the XRP ledger. There are 150 different validators around the world. Universities, cryptocurrency exchanges, businesses, individuals. XRP, Ripple Labs, the company themselves, also operates nodes, although they operate far fewer nodes than they used to in the past. Each validator on this federated consensus maintains a unique node list, a UNL. And this is just a list of validators that they trust. When a transaction comes in, validators compare their proposed the transaction. They take whatever the proposed transaction is that's about to occur, and they compare it to their ledgers. Essentially, they check to see if everything checks out. If 80% of the validators agree, then the transaction is valid and it is confirmed. And this happens every 3 to 5 seconds. Whereas Bitcoin, we're looking at 15 minutes. Now, Ripple, as I said, does run some of these nodes themselves, but they have been in the process of decentralizing massively over time. I am still very much of the camp that they are not a fully decentralized operation because of the nature of it being a private company, but they're putting in one heck of a solid effort on making it more decentralized when it comes down to the consensus mechanism. And so here's the simple way of looking at it. Bitcoin burns electricity, a buttload of electricity. XRP's ledger utilizes trusted nodes. And so it's more of a, you have to get invited into the club type of deal. Bitcoin is truly decentralized. You managed to get enough money and enough electricity. Congratulations. You are now mining Bitcoin. That's not how it works with XRP. You're not getting that. And so when it comes down to it, you've already probably all heard, everybody loves to say TPS, the transactions per second and everything like that. XRP is infinitely faster than Bitcoin. It's faster than Ethereum, although I will say it's 3 to 5 seconds overall transaction speed for XRP. It's 12 seconds over on Ethereum. I mean, it's definitely faster, but and it's important to be faster, but it is tightening, massively tightening when it comes down to it. Now, moving on to probably one of the most important parts of my little presentation today, because this is where the when it comes down to it, guys, not financial advice. Everything here should be considered educational and entertainment purposes. Consult with a financial professional, because this is what I'm often asked. I'm often asked questions about, why is the price of XRP not going up? How does this number change? How does XRP get burnt? Hey guys, I heard that someone was going to buy back our XRP. These are the type of questions I get all the time. And one of the most important things to understand here is the idea of tokenomics. That's one of the great things about blockchains. They're transparent and we all play by the same rules. And we get to decide whether we agree to the rules or not. And this is where tokenomics are very important for people's understanding of how these things work. Why is the market cap 82,884,000,000? Why is the fully diluted valuation 134,960,000,000? Why is the circulating supply 61,405,000,000? But the total supply, why is the total supply actually lower than the max supply? These are extremely important questions. And so I want to go through that one real quickly. First things first, let's just talk about tokenomics on a general size. We're using XRP as an example, but this is the same way it works on any other crypto. You can take this, apply it anywhere. The market cap. And so the market capitalization is actually determined by the circulating supply times the current trading price. So at $1.35 times 61,405,531,717, you're going to end up coming out to 82,884,000,000. Easy peasy. That's how you're getting the actual market capitalization at an exact point of time. It is circulating supply, price. All right. Now, what about fully diluted valuation? Well, this is where we take the total supply number, because this is how many it's possible for there to be in circulation. It's possible that there could be 99,985,000,000 XRP in circulation. If that were to occur and the price were to stay the same, we'd be looking at 134,960,000,000, yada, yada, yada. And so that is just for everyone to take away at any point in time for a better understanding of where these numbers are coming from. This is the same way that you would see market capitalizations in, say, the stock market or things of that nature being determined. It would be the amount of stock shares times whatever the current trading price is. You have just achieved the market capitalization of that trade, of that market. And so hope that helps everyone. Another important thing here is the total treasury holding. And so these are those that have been locked into treasuries. This can be far more important on certain cryptocurrencies because the number could be a lot larger and there can be rules based around how it's used. But in this case, 473,276,000. That is, 0.5% or less than 0.5% of the overall amount of coins that will ever be in existence. But it's not that high. In all honesty, really not that high. And so that is just a basic understanding. Let's start to talk about, though, how Ripple got to here. These are the tokenomics that are specific to Ripple itself. All right. So when this all started, let's rewind all the way back to, I don't even think CoinGecko was here back when it all started. Yeah, no, because there was 100 billion XRP created at launch in 2012. So this number, 100 billion, were created in 2012. All of them. Then no more can ever be created. No more will ever be created. There will never be more. There can only ever be less. There was no mining, no staking rewards for creating new systems. The supply was fixed. Founders gave 80 billion. As I said earlier, 80% of these to Ripple Labs, the company, to build the ecosystem. And so the founders themselves kept 20 billion XRP and 80 billion was handed over to Ripple Labs in order to be utilized to fund the development and construction of the XRP ledger, to build the roads, to build the highways. Now, Ripple then placed a large portion in escrow. Somewhere around 60 billion of it, I believe, at the time that they were awarded it, with 1 billion XRP to be released per month. Now, this is very important. This is how this number keeps going up, because every month, XRP, Ripple Labs, the company, this is what I mean by I mess up and I confuse it, I think, for folks even more, and it's very easy to conflate the terms. But Ripple Labs will receive every month 1 billion. And that 1 billion is coming from the non-circulating supply. It's being added to the circulating supply of XRP, which is thus diluting XRP on a monthly basis. Now, what Ripple Labs does is when they get their 1 billion, they look at the amount of money they need and they sell the amount of XRP necessary to get that amount, and then they put the rest of the XRP from their 1 billion XRP they received that month, they put it back into the escrow. And so maybe 1 month they only need 100 million XRP. So they'll sell 100 million XRP onto the open market, which dilutes, which absolutely knocks the price down, and then they'll put the rest back into escrow. The idea here is that they're able to continuously get funding, continuously keep growing, but that they're incentivized to not flood the market because that would destroy the price for them as well. This is intended to give predictable, transparent supply mechanics. It's supposed to be, we know exactly what to expect. The problem is a lot of folks aren't aware that this is how it works, and so they don't know what to expect. But now you do. Now you know that every single month, this number is going to go up. And that's not going to stop happening until this total supply number and the circulating supply number become the same. When they are the same number, we are going to then start entering into a deflationary design because a small amount of XRP is destroyed with every transaction. Transaction fees are burned. This is a very, very important part because, and the best way to explain it is right here. Why is the max supply, say, 100 billion, but the total supply says 99 billion? Because over the years that the XRP ledger has been operating, those XRP have been permanently burnt or removed entirely from the supply conversation. And so once we achieve These numbers being the same, the circulating supply and the total supply become the same number, then we will see XRP enter into a deflationary period forever. It will constantly be less and less XRP in existence. This is a very important point when you start to think about the long-term potential of what XRP could be worth. So those are all of those basics. For those that are not aware, I will quickly go through and talk about what XRP is designed to be used for, because I do think that this is also a very important one for all of us XRP holders to be aware of. XRP is very much designed as an institutional blockchain. It's designed to send international payments fast. And it views that as one of the major problems that it was sent out to solve. There's a major issue. Going through intermediary banks, going through the SWIFT and the antiquated system is just not fast enough for a modern interconnected world. Taking 2 to 5 business days to settle transactions. This slows down the flow of money. This slows down the economy. XRP said, hey, we can utilize this blockchain technology and digital currencies to solve the problem. It's designed to act as a bridge currency or a bridge blockchain between these two different countries, banks, institutions, governments, the list goes on and on. But primarily, it is designed for institutional use. It's the big boys blockchain, I guess you could say. And so, by transaction speeds being achieved in less than 10 seconds, by costs being fractions of pennies, because of this, it is a far, far superior system than the traditional SWIFT. And that's why we've seen partnerships between XRP and SWIFT banking and a lot of the other central banks, not only in the United States, but also globally. They have been partnering with Ripple Labs, the company, for that exact reason, because they intend to start moving their transactions over to blockchain technology. So, what is the Ripple's product ecosystem? This is very important. What all does Ripple actually offer? Well, we've got RippleNet. RippleNet is the global payment network. That's what we just talked about. That's that primary problem that they sought to solve. They utilize on-demand liquidity that's actually done through XRP's ledger. This is what also allows for a lot of different financial tools to be built on the XRP ledger, where you can earn interest by providing liquidity, by helping to provide that on-demand liquidity necessary for global transactions to occur. We've got also RLUSD. That is the Ripple-based XRP ledger-based US dollar stablecoin. That thing has gone, well, it's gone very well, in all honesty, since its launch last year. Now sitting at a $1.3 billion market cap. And I mean, if we wanted to stretch this one out, if we were to go back to just December 24th of 2024, it was a $72 million market cap. And that means that there was 72 million US dollars or something to back it up sitting inside of the bank account. And there were 72 million Ripple RLUSD circulating out there in the world. That number has gone up exponentially over the past year or so, and to the point of today at 1.3 billion. This is important for all of us XRP holders, because when you send transactions in RLUSD, remember that burning mechanism. You pay your transaction fees in XRP. And so things like RLUSD are actually very cool for XRP holders, because that is the primary methodology of how we will start to enter the deflationary phase of the XRP ledger, when we're going to see those numbers going down instead of going up every single month. And when that number starts to go down, it's going to get a lot easier for us to see this number go up. All right, we got more. We've got Ripple Custody. Ripple also has provided custody services for governments, for major banks. We're talking a whole other level of custodianship. They're trying to become the Brinks security or the Brinks vault for governments, central banks, and large companies. And then the most important part, and what I believe is really the value proposition of XRP, of the XRP ledger, and of Ripple Labs, the company, and that is tokenization. And that is tokenizing real world assets onto the XRP ledger blockchain. That is something we've already seen. US treasuries have already been tokenized. Real estate has already been tokenized. Commodities have already been tokenized. It's just the beginning of that phase. We are going to see tens of trillions of dollars in the coming decades flow in to tokenization. And XRP is well positioned to be at the forefront of that, from precious metals to US treasuries to US dollars to real estate. If you can think about it, if you could imagine a dollar value being placed on it, it's going to get tokenized. And that's why it's very important for XRP to be at the forefront of that, to claim as large of a market share as possible. It, in my mind, is the largest value proposition, the most fundamental value proposition for XRP as a cryptocurrency. It is the tokenization, because that is going to be the big money of the future. And so with that one, guys, a little bit different. There wasn't everything else to go through, but I hope that folks got a lot of benefit from learning about the XRP ledger, learning those differences. It's an important one to understand, especially when it comes down to the basics of these tokenomics, because it's something that you can apply to anything. It's more than just XRP. And it also very clearly represents to people how the transparent nature of blockchains and this new technology works. All of the rules are in front of us. We know how this thing works. We are all given the ability. That is so different from the old system, where we're all sitting there on the other side of the curtain in Wizard of Oz. And now we are all able, if we choose to be entirely aware of how our financial system works, to understand it if we so choose, and also to keep and hold people accountable on it. I can go through down here on XRP. I can go to the XRP scan. This is actually the Explorer. I can look up any wallet, any transaction, trace it all over the planet, and find out what happened. It is public, it's transparent, and it has given the power back to anyone who so chooses to claim it. All right, Seawolf, what do you think XRP can reach price-wise once it reaches 1-to-1 on circulating supply and total supply? Seawolf, once we reach that point and we start to see the burning of the XRP and we start to see the reduction, I think that the sky starts to become the limit and the timeline becomes the real indicator. Are we talking 10 years out into the future? Are we talking 20? A great way, though, in my opinion, of looking at it is to just go ahead and start comparing some market caps. And so if it were to just grow to the size of Ethereum sitting at $266 billion on market cap, and we were to start seeing a deflationary phase, well, we can very, very, very safely assume that XRP is going to be hanging around in the $6, $7, $8 range. And it's going to have no more selling pressure, no more major selling pressure. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's not going to have the uncertainty of selling pressure, because right now, something that's really hurting XRP's price and scares away a lot of big investors is that uncertainty. Every month, we don't know how many XRP Ripple Labs is going to sell. And that uncertainty is why you will regularly see the XRP price start to plummet right before an escrow release occurs. People are scared. They think that Ripple Labs is going to sell more that month than usual, or they're going to oversell. They're going to subvert the price. In all honesty, if we just got that major selling pressure out of the equation, XRP could be sitting at $10 in a matter of no time flat. We just need it to stop. The best option would be if Ripple Labs, the company, were to actually start burning what they don't sell, but instead they keep putting it back into escrow. if they were to start burning a portion of that each month, that would send the price of XRP skyrocketing. I don't love doing exact prices on it because I think there's so many factors that can come in and influence that. I like to look at things in a long-term perspective when it comes to crypto. Because I've learned that if you try to take everything inside of this and you try to smash it into a short time frame, you're going to have poor results. If you take that long-term perspective on this, you're going to fundamentally change how you're approaching these things, how you're approaching the idea of being an XRP holder, or the idea of saying, I'm going to put this amount of money into Bitcoin. It changes the thought process. Instead of you looking at the chart on a 7-day, you start to look at the chart on a max. Instead of looking here, this is just changing the time frame of the chart. If you're taking and you're having the mindset of short term, of worrying about what the price is going to be in 6 months or a year, you're going to start looking at charts this way. And what you're going to do is you're going to miss the big picture. Stretch it out to max. What has actually happened when these things have occurred? You sit there on a 3-month and you're going to say, I should probably not participate in this collapsing market. You stretch it out to max and you're going to see, well, wait a second. This has happened over and over and over again. We're just following a market cycle. Take these timelines and stretch them out, and you will come to an entirely different conclusion about what is going on and what would be a good decision to make. And so definitely, I would have to say that's probably one of the most important things to do when you're looking at not only crypto, that's everything. But especially in cryptocurrency, it is remember to take a long-term perspective. It doesn't mean we're planning on waiting a long time, but it changes the way that you think about it if you adopt that mindset. Because if you have a 3-month mindset, well, look, it's awfully red, isn't it? You stretch out that mindset to, I'm planning on living through market cycles, I'm planning on, moving into the future, then it's an entirely different outlook. All right. Let's see if I've got another question or two there, Pops, or if you want to talk, you have any thoughts or questions there, Pops? That might be a good one.
I've seen a bunch of great ones in here. You were on a rip, and they've been asking, what's the difference between XRP, XLM? There's a few of them that kind of get lumped into there, like even graph. Maybe just briefly touch what makes those things different. And that's what gives them utility as part of its value. Think of it like a better tool. You'll pay more, mechanical pay more for a better tool because it has a function. It helps him do his job. That's because a lot of people are like, oh, all cryptos are going to be worthless because they don't represent anything physical. That's not quite true. There are some meme coins out there that are absolutely, you guys are right. They are just fluff. I mean, you might as well have painted a pet rock.
Oh, yeah. There absolutely are going to be cryptos and blockchains that fall to the wayside. When it comes down to that XLM question, that all these other ones, I think it's a very good question. I'm glad that you brought that one up, Pops, because it gets people confused. And really, a lot of it comes down to they are all in the ISO token classification. They're designed to meet the ISO regulations for the banking shift that occurred not all that long ago, actually, back in 2025. And so with that, they've all kind of gotten lumped together. And really, that's done a disservice to a lot of holders because they serve extremely similar purposes, at least in the nature of XLM and XRP, as Stellar essentially attempts to solve the exact same problems. It's looking to solve cross-border liquidity. It's looking to solve tokenization. It's looking to be at the forefront of it. And so I think people do need to keep in mind that diversification is good. And when it comes down to it, crypto has all been thrown into a classification of cryptocurrency, but that is really, really, really not the best way of understanding it. The invention was blockchain technology. Cryptocurrency is an application of blockchain technology. And so there are blockchains that are designed for proof of origin, They're designed to track a product or a resource from a starting point to a final destination. That is an entire classification of cryptocurrencies. That is a whole other market sector. There's Ethereum. Ethereum is designed to be built on. Its smart contract functionality is what makes it special. You can build games on it. You could build little platforms and applications. You can build all kinds of stuff on it. That is what it does. You can't do that on the XRP ledger. You can't build your little fun game or whatever. It doesn't work that way. It's not designed for it. And so it's important to remember XLM and XRP are competitors. If you want to think about it in a stock market idea, you're investing in Ford and Chevy. Now, when you go and look at VeChain, you're investing in a pharmaceutical company and an automobile company. They're no longer in the same phase. They're really not competitors. And that's something that I think is going to start coming into clarity for a lot of people in the crypto markets in this year, in the coming years, that you need to start looking at this in a holistic mindset. And keep in mind, XLM and XRP are competitors. They are competing against each other. VeChain or Chainlink or Ethereum is not competing with XRP or XLM. They are on an entirely different highway. They are in pursuit of solving entirely different problems. And so, very, very good question, an important one. Remember that when you are looking at these things, look through what they're trying to do and trying to solve. Excellent gal. At what time of the month do they dump XRP to balance what's in circulation? You could time trades and make good money that way. Excellent gal. That is actually randomized, but it is something that can be tracked by the public nature of the blockchain. And so there are certain whale alerts and other trackers that do notify people when it's about to happen. But the reason that can be seen is because we can actually see the XRP leave the escrow. And when it leaves the escrow, we then can essentially figure out how much of it's going to be sold. And so, unfortunately, excellent gal, there's not just a day that you can always know that's when it's going to happen. And you can time a trade and make 10% every month, you know, easy peasy. Unfortunately, they made it a bit harder than that. But yes, excellent gal, it is something that could time trades. You absolutely could do that. Absolutely could. XLM burnt 50% of their coins. So where their price? It did not impact it one bit. I'll have to look at that one, Crooklyn. If they burnt out of the total supply, that could potentially, if they didn't burn out of the circulating supply, then that could have potentially been one of the reasons on that. But Stellar XLM has actually been doing pretty darn well holding its price, considering how the rest of the market has been doing. But yes, total supply over here on XLM sits at 50 billion, with a circulating supply of 33 billion. And so it's actually still on a pretty even ratio to XRP when you break it down that way, because there's about 60 billion out of the 100 million total supply in circulation over on XRP. And so 33, we would be sitting at a fairly similar ratio on that side.
Still looking for more. I know we're getting close to probably time for you, but Wall for him's got a question for you.
Wall for him question. I had heard that the Ledger hardware wallet has a backdoor where your XRP can be stolen. Is that true? Have you heard of that? Wall for him, I have heard so much fear mongering when it comes down to it on a lot of the hardware wallets. No Ledger hardware wallet has ever managed to be hacked through a backdoor of that nature. Now, things that absolutely can occur, Wall for him, and things that are very, very important to remember is that your Ledger hardware wallet is not going to be hacked. You're going to be hacked. And that is how it always happens. What happens when it comes down to hardware wallets is that people lose or are tricked in to giving away their 24-word secret passcode.
You mean like if they sign up for a QFS account, we're going to need this information and that information. You think that would be a good way for them to possibly steal your information?
That's how they do it. That is how they do it. They do it through scams and tricks of things of that nature. They call you and they act like they're Coinbase. Or they act like they're Ledger support and they say there's an emergency. I need your 24 words now, or you're going to lose everything inside of your wallet. Give it to me now. Give it to me now. We've got to save it now. And that's how they steal it. And so, Walt, for him, the most important part of keeping your crypto in a hardware wallet, no matter which hardware wallet it is, guys, it doesn't matter. I say Ledger. I'd pick Ledger because that's what I'm used to. And it's the biggest. It's been around the longest. But really, any of them. There's no problem with any of them. They all have their own perks and their own quirks. But the most important thing is to remember the overall safety process for cryptocurrency and for this technology. Your secret words are beyond private. There is no human being on this planet that is allowed to have them besides you or someone you trust with your life. That is something that, I imagine, I know I've talked to some folks that like, they don't have family that they can trust that much. And you really should take it in that mindset. It is something you do not give to anyone because they may not take it as seriously as you do.
At the same time, save it somewhere.
Yes.
Save it somewhere. How many of you guys out here, and there's probably plenty, I'm included in this, have lost crypto? You still have it, but you can't get to it.
Yeah.
Forgotten your seed phrase, changed phones, the seed phrase was phrased in your app, blah, 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 things like that, guys. How many folks have that same problem? Yeah, that's
there's billions of dollars in cryptocurrency that is currently sitting in wallets and things of that nature. And at some point in time, because security protocols upgrade for wallets and things of that nature, at some point in time, those locked wallets may eventually manage to be figured out or scavenged back. But otherwise, there's really no way to go back and get them.
Yeah, which sucks because I got friends here. I got different friends that have hundreds of thousands of dollars stuck they can't get to. And it could be just life-changing right now if they could.
Yep. And so guys, keep that in mind. Those 24 words are so important. You want to protect them against absolutely everything. You write those down. You write it down more than once. You place it in locations that only you are aware of and only you have access to. It is the ultimate access key. They do not need your physical hardware wallet. If you give them those words, it's over. Now, that's also a very good thing for you because if you have those 24 words and the cat decides to toss your hardware wallet into the toilet because it's a cat and it felt like it, well, you're okay because you just take those 24 words, you input them into a new hardware wallet, bada bing, bada boom. You have restored access. Everything about your funds is still safe. And so it's very, very important. It's the most important part of the whole process when it comes down to your hardware wallet and your wallets. It is understanding how serious those words are. Those are as serious as it gets. They are not joking when they tell you you better write it down. You could make a mistake that could cost you retirement by not choosing to take the time necessary to write those words down and double check them. It's really easy.
Real easy.
It's really easy. And so definitely do. That is how you're going to get, that's how you're going to get screwed. You're going to get screwed if you lose those. Oh, Tim Bumper 9 lost 55,000 XRP coins from a Coinbase scam text and call. Yeah, guys, do not ever answer phones. There's no such thing as an emergency in regards to your wallet or your exchange account. It doesn't exist. If it does, the first thing you do when you get a call or you get an email or you get a text message, you do not call them back. You do not click their link. You do not follow any instructions that they told you. You go to whatever that service is and you log in yourself. If you have a problem, it'll pop up when you log in. And so if you get something about Coinbase, hey, your Coinbase account's in danger, go over to Coinbase, log into your account. Don't follow their link. Go to your own saved bookmark of Coinbase, log into your account and see if anything pops up. 99.99999% of the time, it was all for naught. Coinbase does not have people to talk to. And so if you're getting a call from a tech company, it's a scam. They do not have customer service people that make calls. And so just don't let yourself get tricked into talking to a Coinbase employee when they don't have those employees. It doesn't exist.
Reminds me of people telling me they were working with somebody over at Google. I'm like, Google doesn't answer the phone.
Yeah.
You got a question, you're just screwed.
Yeah.
You're not
if you got one of their customer service people on the phone, then I would like to shake your hand.
Yeah. So when, and trust me, I've had quite a few of those supposed from international numbers and funny numbers with strange. Call me from Google. Oh, yeah, no, we see here we need to change your password. We're going to need your original one for verification for my YouTube account to take it so that they can broadcast. I mean, it is crazy out there. Theta. I like Theta.
Theta, from everything I can tell, is essentially a dead project.
Which sucks because I loved the project.
It's still out there. It still exists. But let me just pop up the screen, guys. I am. You see that? Now, this is where it's also helpful to make certain to take things out to max. Guys, that's darn near dead, Jim. We have gone from what was the price back then? $12, 20 some cents back in April of 2021 to 16 cents. Unfortunately, when it comes down to it, Theta no longer did any updates. Theta also screwed over the vast majority of their holders by making an unannounced fork of the blockchain where they then required you to claim on the other side. Unfortunately, they didn't tell people that, and they gave them a very short timeline to do it. And so I know of countless people in the community who ended up not being able to migrate their Theta over, and they essentially lost their entire investment into Theta. And so I love the idea. They looked like they were kicking butt there for a little while. And now, man, it's hard to figure out if it's still alive. There have been no news updates. There are no information about it. There's nothing. And so typically anything that's updating regularly, there's a whole news section here on CoinGecko, telling you what they're up to. Theta is still being traded back and forth because, well, there's still active liquidity for it, and it's still on exchanges.
I just keep hoping somebody will, and this is why management of your projects is so important. And this is what gives XRP a ton of its value. The Ripple team is out there actively pitching for use. Financial institutions, bankings, governments, corporations, in order to use it. That's also Theta's weak spot because it basically was set up to decentralize the entire internet with that project. So, I mean, their entire design really couldn't fund itself. Similar to what was the other operating system? I loved it. I used it for a while. It was an open sourced. Take the place of Microsoft for your computer.
Are you talking about the one that replaced Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, etc.?
No. Not talking about like the Apache and stuff that did those. No, I'm going back to the actual operating system. And this is one where I can't even believe I am brain farting. Linux. Mika with the rescue. Mika's my favorite person today.
Linux is the oldest operating system out there.
Yeah, and I love the idea. And so many corporations use it because of licensing, etc. And it was going along swimmingly. And I haven't heard anything in a very long time. You?
No.
I mean, it may be going great, and I just don't know it.
And NVIPs, I have a lot of money in XLM Lobster wallet that I cannot be able to recover ever. I tried different ways, nothing works. Guys, if you can avoid it and you do not already have money stuck in there, do not use Lobster. Lobster is a crappy exchange. It allows for people to scam you. And there's nothing technically wrong with Lobster.
Nothing technically wrong.
I have gone through and utilized it safely, but the problem is they allow for scam projects to be listed on the exchange. And so on Lobster, you'll go over and you'll type in XRP and you'll get 20 different options. 19 of those options are a scam. And Lobster allows that. And so that is what has gotten people into so much trouble on Lobster. The right XRP is there. I have never lost a single dime on Lobster wallet, making trades and making exchanges. But I think that their business practices are absolutely unacceptable in regards to what they allow, because they know that they're a wallet that a lot of newbies use.
And they also know that there are a lot of people out there scamming folks on it, and they don't care because it gets them more adoption.
They don't do anything to stop it.
Yeah,
because they make money off of it. They don't want to stop it. When you go on, and they charge pretty high fees over there. And so when you're buying that scam coin, they know it's a scam, but they're making money while you make that purchase. And so I am just for the folks that are on Lobster, I do have some old videos over on Crazy Cryptonaut showing you how to get out of there. I also can do more videos showing people how to get out of there. It is very possible to get out of Lobster. The problem is a lot of people think that they have XRP or XLM in Lobster. And the very sad thing is it turns out that when you went over there, you ended up getting one of those. Remember, it was 19 out of 20 were scams. Very often, I've found that folks made purchases, spent good money on what they thought was XLM or XRP, and they ended up with XLM PQZ, which turns out it was
nothing related to XLM, just
not even
had a cool
related
name.
Yeah.
Rochelle, I don't know if he's helping anybody one-to-one, but I know that like Jeremy from Freedom Forge, you see him typing a lot. He has helped a couple of people in our community recover, but it's kind of hit. They may be able to help 10% of the people, so maybe.
Yeah, no, definitely send along an email. I absolutely, I feel terrible on it because I just can't get but so many responses back out to folks. It's overwhelming, and a lot of the different problems they're not something that I can just sit down and I can solve for you in 5 to 10 minutes. They take a lot of time. Oftentimes when I start working with people on it, it'll take us weeks to just find all of the words and the information on the person's side. You know, nothing I can even do until I get the right wallet addresses, until I get the until I get things to actually be able to look in and figure it out. And so I do try to make myself as available as possible. The best way is always during the live streams, but yes, over in Telegram and send emails. I do really need to, especially with everything going on, I really need to get the one-on-ones set up and that service set up, because I do want to start taking 5 to 10 hours each week and doing one-on-one sessions, having a way where people can, book an appointment and pay for some one-on-one so that we can knock out those things.
Yes,
there's always been so many other things on the list.
Spectre just asked if I had my Rumble. Oh, before I do that, guys, this is the link tree. It has all the links that we share on the show, 99% of what you guys look for, but it also has a link for Zester and all of his. Hold on, let me remove this.
Yeah. I actually have it pulled up over here.
Oh, you share it. Well, I was going to share mine and then show them where to find yours on there. Yep.
So the MarkZ link tree, I am super happy about this thing because it makes it so much easier. Everything is inside of here, guys. And whenever somebody comes on or y'all notice that there's something missing, as soon as I get informed, I can get it added. And so inside of here, you can go straight on over here and it'll actually take you over to the Crazy Cryptonaut link tree. I would highly recommend that folks bookmark
the
MarkZ show one, because then you just never have to question. If he's not on Rumble, click the link. If he's not on, if you can't find the update there, you've got the Telegram room immediately there to go ask questions. It's every single link.
You want to ask Zester a question? Linktree. It's got all of his information, all of his links, and everything's there. Yeah. It's really, really easy. You guys could make your life easier just by bookmarking that link tree.
Yeah. Also, I can even set it up to where it will take you to the most recent episode on that one. There's a lot of cool little things there. So if there's buttons or stuff that y'all can think of, let me know and I will get it added in there and it helps keep people safe because all the links are guaranteed safe. There's not something random that could possibly get tricked in. Some random bot or troll comes sneaking in, posts some kind of random link. It makes it through, and we start clicking on it, and before you know, some guy's asking you for your 24 words to your Ledger hardware wallet. So yeah.
Biz for bucks, if you're not going to actively trade it, it's safer to move your crypto to a hard wallet. That's your short answer. If you're going to be trading it back and forth, it's way easier to leave it in your Coinbase, but it comes with some risks.
If it's walking around money, think about it the same way you would your wallet. At what point would you not carry that money with you? At what point would you look at it and say $500 in my wallet is a ridiculous degree of danger to be taking on a daily basis? And that should be the point where you say, okay,
whatever that point is,
get to a hardware wallet. That to me is the easiest way to kind of place it into a real world mindset and something that we're all very consciously aware of. If you would feel unsafe carrying that kind of money around, it's probably the time to start thinking about a hardware wallet.
Yep. I need to sing happy birthday to them before, and then I was going to ask you some things about that one just because so many questions. I think I can actually pull this one off.
All right, if you want to go for it.
I think I got this one. Let's see. Halea, Hannah, Kathy, those celebrating. So they tell me it's your birthday. Well, happy birthday, darling. May you live, may you love, may all your dreams come true. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. To all those celebrating, happy birthday. It was the break that you gave me talking so I could get enough voice back to get through it. Jan, I've always loved the Ledger stuff, and Zester has a direct link that will save you money and gives them a couple of dollars.
Yeah, definitely go through the link on that one. If anything, just to make certain that you buy it directly from the factory. And so if you go over through the MarkZ link tree and you click on mine, there's actually a link sitting there. I have got that with my setup with Ledger, and it will actually give you free Bitcoin for having utilized the link. It's one of those great affiliate programs because everybody wins and everybody's safe.
And guys,
so I'm a really big fan.
If you're buying a Ledger, only buy a Ledger directly from Ledger.
Yep.
You want to make certain it's coming directly from the manufacturer, not from somebody that could put a back door in there. And that's one thing to remember. That's the thing that make the hardware companies more valuable than just a USB stick. Because you could just use a USB stick, throw it there. Yep. Security. Anybody with a computer or whatever, they plug it in, they can see whatever's on there unless it is secure, like in the Ledger. And there are a number of good companies out there. Ledger just happens to be the old tried and true. It's the Cadillac. It's the one that everybody else gets measured against.
Yep.
It's the gold standard on Ledger on hardware wallets. Doesn't mean it's the best, but it is a solid bang for the buck, and you know you're safe.
Yep. And no, it is. Just make certain that you get it directly from the company. Absolutely. Yep. That's not one to try and save $5 because you see somebody on eBay. That's how you end up with a hardware wallet that has a backdoor. That's how that happens.
Yeah, David, definitely whiskey and wisdom tonight. Grand thoughts on XAMAN?
I'm
not familiar with that project.
Zaman wallet. I've heard a lot of folks utilize it. I have not heard anything bad when it comes down to it. Salty Mavo, Ledger has batteries that fail. I actually do not use the Ledger that has batteries. I use the Ledger Nano S Plus. It has a very small screen. That is absolutely a problem for folks with squinting. It's not easy for me. I got to get up close to that thing.
Remember those old Firefly phones they had with the massive buttons, cell phones?
Yeah.
For all the old folks with their eyes start going there. I'm waiting for them to come out with like an old AARP is going to sponsor a hardware wallet or something. Yeah. Like really big screen so you can see it.
Yeah. Well, what was that? Yeah, I forget what the name of that phone was. And they had
I think
all
it was called
ads.
Firefly.
Yeah.
Firefly Mobile or something.
Yeah. But so yes, they absolutely do. The more expensive ledgers have batteries and Bluetooth. batteries, they can fail. The same way as any other lithium ion. The Ledger Flex, those are the newer models. They're much more expensive. I use the Ledger Nano S Plus because I do everything crypto related from a computer. If you need to be able to do things from a phone or on the go, that's when it starts to make sense to have one of those that has a battery. I love the fact that the Nano S Plus doesn't have a battery. It is powered
one
through
less thing to fail.
It's a point of failure that when I'm done with my working with it, I just unplug it. Bam. No more thought, no more anything. I don't have to think about whether I turn the Bluetooth off or whether I'm, connecting to the McDonald's Wi-Fi. I just don't have to think about it. I'm able to just unplug it. But I would absolutely say if eyesight is a thought or the ability to be able to use your phone in order to do it, then you are going to need to get a hardware wallet that has a battery and that has Bluetooth enabled so that it can connect. Or you're going to need to get an adapter cable in order to be able to plug it into something like a phone. But I've heard a lot of good things, though, about the newer ones. I've heard some worries about the batteries. And I've never gotten any confirmation on whether that was a systemic issue or whether it was a fairly typical issue or not. But I've heard a lot of good things from folks on how easy they are to use in comparison to my old Nano S Plus. My old Nano S Plus, some folks have a hard time with it. It has a weird little 2-button system. The screen, the screen was nicer on your calculator in high school.
Much. Jeremiah Perez Deuces. That's like, wow. Blast back to the 80s when you like leave whatever Deuces. I'm out. I just saw that when I was like a little blast from the past, Jeremiah. So thank you for some of the memories. That just Jitterbug. That was one of the phones too, and I think the Jitterbug phone was provided by Firefly Mobile. Those names stick. I don't know. I'd have to look it up to be certain. Here is our opportunity to talk about this. Anybody who wants to that some of those have had questions. The rest of you. Be back tonight at 7. I will send Andy the link. He is on a cruise. It's like some kind of investor or something. He's speaking on a cruise about silver and gold. So he was covered this week. It's my understanding his wife is recovered. So he is at this point says that we will definitely have him next week. And I am hoping so. Ooh, Gypsy Firefly was a great TV show too. Few things, Firefly Vodka, Firefly the show. Awesome. What we're talking about for those that would like to stick around is Mr. Hill's Reflux Shield. It is a bicarbonate alginate, if I understand it correctly. Basically, creates kind of like a plug. My valve on the top of my stomach, my sphincter's valve. Most of the people that have GERD have a similar issue. It's a little messed up the bottom of the stomach, so the valve doesn't always close the way it's supposed to, so I get acid in my stomach. The traditional approach has either been a surgery that is very hit and miss whether it works and they tie it off. Some people that do the surgery end up having to go back because they can't even swallow. It's too tight. Some of them it's not tight enough. They still have reflux. Others become very gaseous when they eat because they can't burp anymore. So if you can't burp, if it can't go out the mouth, well, it's going to go out somewhere else. So it's like a real questionable one. It's really tough from bad eating habits when I was younger and just genetics. So I'm giving this one a try. Zester did it with a different product while we were developing ours. And it has taken a lot of money, a lot of effort, a lot of testing to bring it to the market. But everybody who's done it in our beta phase loved it. And I am finally brave enough. I started today. I will start slowly. I'm going 1 day off, 2 days on, 1 day off. Then I'll go to every other day taking my proton pump inhibitor, my Nexium type pill, as I wean myself and change it. But I mean, those proton pump inhibitors, you don't digest your food properly. And they put massive overload on your kidneys. I mean, the only reason we take them is because it's a slower death than esophageal cancer. So you've got to deal with it or you're going to end up dead. It's not a question.
Yep.
Your question is the slow approach, the fast approach, or do you get it healthy enough? Do you find one that works mechanically instead of chemically so that your body can eat the food, digest the food. And that's what I'm starting. So now I'm going to leave it to you because you've gone through this process. I mean, I could cover you guys up with more articles, doctors, and studies, how bad these proton pump inhibitors are for you long term. They'll devastate you. They will kill you.
Yeah. And that was,
but then again, it's safer than dying of esophageal cancer.
And it's a whole lot more pleasant because at least you get to sleep until that day comes. And so this is one where Pops has it. My mom has stomach acid issues.
My father has it.
Genetic. Our whole family
got it from both sides of the family.
And of course, as I started to get into the early 20s, it started to affect me. I started taking the proton inhibitors, same ones that Pops takes, the omeprazole and the like. And I started to have digestive issues continuously. I attempted to stop using it, which moved me over to Tums and antacids. Well, guess what? That just made everything worse. And I went back to the proton inhibitors, essentially in no time flat, so that I could sleep at night and so that I could exist.
Yeah. Just existing is how good that is. But Marianne was talking about a Dr. Berg. He explains GERD and stuff, but it's too low in acid. That's what makes the alginate approach so great because it lets you keep that acid. It basically forms like a little floating cork at the top of the stomach to keep that acid from ever going in the esophagus. Really cool. But you know more about this. You've already gone through it successfully. My father went through it successfully. Your mother went through it successfully.
Yep. And it's all based around utilizing. And so that's where this whole process started, because there wasn't any product that I could find. Even once I managed to stop using the proton inhibitors, I still had acid reflux that occurred every once in a while. Tums and every product out there, you can't keep taking it. Read the descriptions on absolutely any of them, whether it's Tums or the like. If you have to take these things longer than a matter of 2 or so weeks, you're going to start causing damage to your kidneys and to your liver. You're going to start getting kidney stones. And beyond that, you're going to go through a giant list of different dyes, preservatives, and a lot that I just can't even pronounce. And that's considered the better and healthier option than continuing to take the proton inhibitors. And so we started talking with a chemist about a year and a half ago, trying to create an alginate, which is a mechanical solution. It creates a floating algae raft, literally made out of seaweed, at the top of your stomach. And so your food continues to digest normally. You take
there is a bonus that the cork you're creating, so you don't have the indigestion, is also healthy for you. I mean, that's a bonus.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really does matter, because when you're taking the Tums and everything, yes, it's getting rid of that acid pain for a second. It's getting rid of the burn, but it's also stopping the digestive process. You're not getting the nutrients out of your food. You're causing massive amounts of extra calcium and magnesium buildup inside of your digestive system. And it's not a solution. And so that's where we started looking towards and going for an alginate product. There were other products on the market that are filled with dyes and food colorings and all kinds of extra chemicals, and it's just trading one poison for another. And so that's where Daily Reflux Shield came into existence. It's taken over 2 years working with a chemist and the manufacturer in order to get this product tested.
We say chemist and food scientist.
Yeah, and in order to actually get it to a point where it's ready to go into production. Now, and so
the only negative has been, well, the flavor's great. A lot of the products out there taste like, well, rough. This one tastes really good. Tastes like cheesecake. Looks, because refused to go with dyes and all the artificial stuff in it. So look, I mean, it looks like you just like you're taking a spoonful of Jergens lotion. Your hand lotion. Flavor is great. Functionality is great. So far, so good. Normally, I would already be miserable. Today's my first day without a pill, using the alginate. Tomorrow, a pill. The day after, a pill. Then a day off. Then after a couple of weeks, I'll go every other. And then I'll go to 1 day with, 2 days off. A slow process. I looked up studied a lot of the different doctors that talk about best ways to go off and safest ways to go off. So I am following some what do you call doctors
It's pretty
that
much
are
a
regular
detox
trained medical
regimen that
doctors,
you're
but they
on.
believe in natural approaches?
It's a holistic, it's a far
Holistic.
more holistic approach. And you are, when you're going off of things like the PPIs, you are actually going through withdrawals. Your body, it has gotten reliant on it. And so you will face a horrible, horrible, horrible amount of acid rebound and acid reflux that will occur. You'll have
Yeah, I mean,
problem digesting food.
your system has been desperately trying to make up for the acid that's not there because your body needs the acid to digest. So it's in desperation mode trying to put it in there. And then suddenly you stop suppressing it. It's going to go a little overboard.
Yep. And so that's what we went for. We simplified the entire thing, looked at all the problems that were with the rest of the antacids and the rest of the different stomach stabilizers. And we got rid of everything that wasn't necessary. If it didn't need to be in the product, it's not in it. It's not colored because we don't need to color it. It has very, very minimal flavoring because we don't need it to have more than what is necessary. We need it to be enjoyable because, as anybody who knows, living the life of eating Tums, eating these things stinks. You eat it, you get that whole crazy burp type feeling as it hits the stomach. And I literally imagine it as like dropping a giant ice block into boiling water. And that's essentially what's occurring in your stomach by utilizing them. And so we actually have over on the website, it's really cool. I've actually got this that Jeremy put together. And actually, it's a little animation showing what essentially occurs along the process. Where during the point where you are having acid reflux, what's happening is that it's actually bubbling up into your esophagus. It's actually making it all the way to your teeth, which many people are not aware of. It causes massive dental problems. Matter of fact, I paid $960 for a root canal on Monday, and that was the first thing that the dentist said. The orthodontist looked at my mouth and said, "You've got acid reflux, don't you?" And she said, "And you've got it bad. I'm going to need countless enamel treatments going into the future on account of it." And so esophageal cancer, teeth rotting out of your mouth are honestly some of the more pleasant side effects of acid reflux. And so
It's nuts.
it's something that has to be
Got to deal with it.
It's got to be treated. And so what happens when you take the alginate is it's actually going to come in and it's going to sit right up here at the top. And it's going to create a raft, a mechanical, physical raft. It binds with the other ingredients. And so this alginate that's derived from seaweed binds with the other ingredients to create a raft. Now, this raft is still permeable. And so if you eat food or anything else, it's just going to plop through the raft and the raft is going to reform back around it. And what it does is it keeps the acid from coming back up. This allows for the food in your stomach to continue being digested without you having to suffer all night sitting, up on a crazy pillow like Zester did for years. It allows for the system to continue working without you having to suffer all the negative consequences of the acid reflux bubbling back up. And so this approach works instantaneously. For everybody that has gone through the testing, this is something where it can be used for emergency acid reflux. If you have got acid reflux that occurred and because you just pounded a foot-long calzone, it is going to be able to come in to immediate effect.
Which is the doctor told me a long time ago that I would eat too large a portion and too fast a time because I always work. So I'd eat on my feet. You just, you scarf down a whole sub and you just keep working and just stretched it. And now I've got to lighten up so it can heal.
Yep.
But Jacqueline, that's a perfect example. Said, "Oh my gosh, I've had this acid for years. Today, my top 7 teeth are being removed and I'm getting a top denture. Acid ate my teeth." Yeah, it's.
And it's not something that really is that you're told about as much. And I was amazed. The orthodontist, it wasn't even a question. She didn't ask me what bad habits I had or whether I ate too much candy. She looked at it and she said, "You have stomach acid." It's so apparent to them, and yet it's not really something that we're taught about well. And so with the use of this, the idea is you are able to utilize it as much as necessary. We have made it certain that there is not enough calcium. There's not too much of anything. One serving is 5 milliliters. One serving is going to have 3% of your daily sodium. And so 3% of your daily sodium, and that's in the form of sodium alginate. And that is what's creating that algae raft. A single serving of calcium would be 20 milligrams of calcium in a single serving. To place that into context, these Tums are coming in at 750 milligrams of calcium carbonate, and you're supposed to take 6 a day if your symptoms are bad. This is far more. This is the reason that these things are so bad for your kidneys. It's not that calcium is bad for you. It's that taking one absolute butt ton of calcium is not
just like water can kill you if you drink too much.
And then the same thing moves over onto the sugar side, where we come in at 2% of your daily value of sugar per serving.
Yeah, and don't be, it's natural cane sugar, guys. It's the healthiest sugar you could go
No,
with.
it is not.
Nope.
It's not natural cane sugar. No. We went through a long process on this one. And so this is where I want to let people know we want to hear on this. This is a passion project.
Serious, because it's affected our lives, our family's life, and friends' lives. This is like,
if you see ingredients or you see anything on it that is a question mark, talk to us about it. And that's what's taken so long with it. We have experimented with different sweeteners. We've experimented with no sweeteners. We have gone every different route. What we have in this current product is we have non-GMO dextrose. The reason for that is because of how effective it is at creating the consistency and binding the algae raft. Now, for those who do have diabetes, dextrose is not optimal. We are working on a monk fruit derived alternative, but I would say something that we did a lot of research on throughout this process, dextrose, especially the non-GMO dextrose that we utilized for it, really is not a big problem at the dosage. But I understand why some people would not like that part about it. We are very much continuing on the process of trying to develop the monk fruit derived version. It's a consistency problem. The inconsistency of the product is what has created that, but we're not going to quit. We're going to keep trying. We're going to figure out how to make it happen.
Spending a fortune till we get it.
Our food scientist will get it. He's certain it's possible. He's absolutely certain. And so when you go through and you look at the ingredients list, it really is. It's extremely, extremely short.
Just a real quick note. The link that takes you straight there is on my link page. It says Mr. Heals. I mean, it's a link. It's got all your greats on it. My X, my Telegram, my Twitch, my True Social, how to get Mr. C's book, how to find Matt and Lucas over at CBD Gurus, how to find the Mushroom Ladies. I mean, it really does. It's that link tree has all of those when you guys are looking.
And so right now there is only one flavor. It is cheesecake. We do have chocolate coming, and we will happily, please tell us about flavors that y'all would prefer. If y'all would like one that has absolutely zero sweeteners, I'll tell you, it is not pleasant.
Oh God, no,
we'll do it.
You'd have to screw on your, I'm going to do it because it's the right thing.
Put on your big boy face on that one.
Yeah, we've tried it that way.
Yeah. And so when it comes down to it, we do have one all natural preservative in the form of poly-L-lysine. It is very, 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 very good one. It's a very, very hard thing to acquire. And besides that, it is purified water. It is the sweetener. There is no coloring. It naturally derived flavoring on it. I think it tastes like the glaze on a Krispy Kreme donut. I do not know why, but that's what I taste with this flavoring. And the reason that you don't get that extremely poignant cheesecake flavoring is because we've tried to use a small amount of everything as we possibly can.
And we didn't want to use any dyes. So, I mean, we could have made it look as pretty as you want. We could have made it look like those other companies.
I could have made it purple. I could have made it any color.
And we could have charged a lot more like they do too.
But it is nothing more than kind of a whitish. It's It's delicious. And also, you don't have to worry if you take the serving, the 5 milliliters, and it's not enough to knock out your really bad acid
You
reflux.
can take a little more.
Take a little more. When it comes down to it, you're good. And that's why I love it, because it is actually designed to be a long-term solution. It's not just another patch. It's designed to where for somebody like Pops, what is recommended with it is taking a serving of 5 milliliters after every meal and one before bed.
Yeah, if you guys are starting out, one after every meal and then one right before bed.
But the reason for that is because of what's happening. You're going through massive acid rebound. You're going through a temporary phase of your stomach getting back to digesting food properly. And so during that phase, that's what I did. I took a serving after every single meal. Once I had done that for a couple of months, and it takes months to get through the withdrawals of the PPIs.
It does.
I started to move to now I take it before bed, and that's it. That's the only time that I have to take it. And even then, there's probably some nights that I would have been okay. But why would I worry?
It's not worth the damage to your esophagus, your teeth, anything else. Just, I was going to say, even after I get rid of it, of dealing with it during the day and I get that healing and I've, gotten through the withdrawals from the proton pump inhibitors, I'm going to still take it at night before I sleep.
Yeah.
And saying
how can someone tell? It's actually, you can actually look back at your molars and think about it this way. Do your teeth look like they are degraded or ground down, like someone put sandpaper on them? Or do they look like the guy who saw the Ark of the Covenant in the in Tomb Raider? If they look like there is, and sorry, that's the way that like it makes sense to me. It almost looks like the back molars are melting, Mimsy, and it's hard to see unless you look very, very closely. But that's what essentially it is, because it's digging grooves into it. It's eroding all of your enamel, and once the enamel's gone, there's no way to get it back. And so once the enamel is gone, it's pretty permanent damage that acid reflux actually does. Is what the orthodontist went through with me on just Monday. They said, if I had not ever had those issues, had never taken those PPIs, had this product the whole time, I would not probably have a lifetime of dental bills to pay. At least on that fault. At least it'd be my own doing. It would be my sugar or my sweet tea habit that would be the actual cause of it. And yes,
for him,
on
definitely.
Price, Jack Lynn, we operate on an economy of scale. I want it to be even lower. But when it comes down to it, it all comes down to how much we're producing and manufacturing. As we continue to rise and rise and rise, my hope would be that we can make it a whole other conversation. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And actually a very scary thing that I learned during this process is that about 50% of all people that are currently prescribed PPIs by their doctor have actually been misdiagnosed and mistreated.
Oh, absolutely.
It is considered one of the most misprescribed products on the planet. And when you misprescribe it and people take it, they're creating lifelong health problems that are going to mean they have to keep taking it. And I think that's why a lot of these different pharmaceutical companies pushed it the way they did, because once you're on it, you're hooked. And Mr. Frausto, all I did was I moved this. Now this sits next to me on the nightstand. It works instantaneously. And so if I do wake up, it doesn't happen often, but if I decide to pound a whole pizza and then go to bed 2 hours later,
or forget to take it,
if I pop up and I wake up in the middle of the night, I take it again, it's immediately gone. You lay right back down. And so it doesn't take any time. When it enters into your stomach, it immediately inflates. Imagine those rafts on the back of the Deadliest Catch type boats, or on the ones where the second they touch water, they inflate. That's how your alginate works inside of this product. When it touches the stomach contents, it inflates the raft and it expands out to cover the entire surface.
Yeah, it's kind of like your life raft on the airplane, pull the cord. Poof.
Yeah.
AZ Cactus, tell us, guys, feedback's important on this one because this one is,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, this is, we went through like just extreme testing, but share your results.
Yeah, and tell us, understand we're moving up scale on how much we're producing. Let us know.
Yeah,
Does it
definitely.
work immediately? Is the flavor something you can't handle? Talk to your doctor about it. I have talked to countless doctors about it. Doctors, when they see the different product, it's a no-brainer when you look at it from a health consequences standpoint. When you look at the different products,
Yeah, and if there's any
um,
doctors out there that want to partner with us on this product so we can get it out there more, we would be glad to have the conversation.
and so I know when it comes down to it that it's already been proven that the alginate solution is at this point the has the fewest potential complications because it doesn't have any.
Oh,
It's
LG
only
lady,
other
the
products inside of it.
a quick one. The prototypes were in the white one, and we've got the prototypes
Yes.
because we went through the testing. Yeah, the bottles will be in a pretty black one. We just have the white bottles because, well,
Yeah, well, ours are the prototype ones. We produced extra every time we went through and we increased the amount that we were producing in one go. We made an extra set for all of the sampling and trialing. The reason being is because whenever you upgrade a recipe, think about it like
you got to
for
relabel
our
everything.
bakers out there, when you start increasing the size of the cake, you have to take that math, you have to expand it out, and you have to see whether the consistency maintains the same solid standard that you were attempting to achieve. And so that's why we have the sample bottles. They just got thrown into these. But yes, you will be seeing these green labels in terms of all of the product coming out from now on. I do think we have a few more white bottles that we were not going to waste, but the label is going to be this green one. And then long term, we've decided to move to the black bottle. If folks have ideas on the bottling, that's something that I want to keep improving on. We went with these in this style because they are the easiest to make certain had tamper proofing and everything on the actual lid. And from a shipping standpoint, a product consistency standpoint, we thought that was particularly important. But they do kind of look reminiscent of a shampoo bottle on account of that. But when you're using it, the 5 milliliter serving is 1 teaspoon. And so this does make it very easy to use in terms of the spoon. But also, I'll be completely honest with you guys. I don't share my bottle.
No.
It sits next to the bed.
I just go, don't.
I don't even think about or worry about it on that one. But for those that are concerned about it, it is 1 teaspoon is the serving size.
It's like, what is it, like 48 servings? I think something like that in each one.
48 servings in the entire thing. And so it is designed
on how often
more than a month's supply. The idea is that it would be a month's supply for those who are going through that initial time.
You're gonna need more.
I did too. But when it gets to the maintenance level, this is 48 days worth when it gets to a maintenance level. So technically a month and a half would end up being it once you have gotten your stomach condition.
Now, Rambo, we very much wanted to go with glass. It creates a problem for shipping. The cost would go up like $2 about. There were like certain things that were just going to make it really tough to go with glass. But
yeah, it's a shipping concern. It's a shipping concern, but I totally agree. It would be optimal. We've also looked at different Mylar pouching and ways of potentially going that route. Those are very convenient in terms of certain regards, but the Mylar packaging is another concern when it comes down to certain things. So right now, but we are open to other ones. We did a whole sample routine for a long time. We had it in barbecue ketchup bottles. For a long time, that was what we were doing. We had it in the barbecue bottles that you would see, at your local barbecue joint. And those worked great. The problem was sealing them in the best way and making certain that they were properly sealed. They were amazing for use on a daily basis. But when you're trying to ship these things all over and you're trying to make certain that product arrives perfect with no, with tamper seal on it, because we have tamper seals on them, those little spindly tips just don't work out that great. And so we've gone a lot of different ways on that one. I loved the barbecue bottles. They were the best. They were so awesome. They just fail at a very important part. What happens if the shipping guy throws it around, or what if happens if, the UPS guy tosses your box the wrong way? We had to take those things into thought.
You don't dissolve it. You just put it in. It hits the stomach acid. You don't need to dissolve it, Jan.
Nope. You just put it on a spoon, put it in your mouth, 5 milliliters or 1 teaspoon. And the second it hits your stomach, it's going to start forming the raft.
I love it. All right.
So it's less than a minute when it comes down to the nature of the effect. And it doesn't do that crazy thing that when you eat a tum, I always have that, like, it hits the stomach and then burp, 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 as something is occurring inside of there. I don't have anything of that nature with it. It goes in, it forms the raft. It utilizes literally, in most cases, 1/25th of the amount of calcium that just one singular Tums would utilize. For something like this, where it's a 750 milligram calcium carbonate, what does that mean? We're using 1/40th of the amount of calcium to achieve the same exact result, the instantaneous result that they achieve. The reason that it works in this case is because it is a mechanical solution. It's not a chemical solution.
Boy, I tell you, when did
solving the problem mechanically?
Yeah,
a bunch of people order. They are absolutely ready, TNT. Ready. And so you will be able to see over on Pops' link tree. And so if you come over to the link tree, you'll go down to Mr. Heals, click on Mr. Heals, and it is going to start popping right up immediately. Reflux Shield. You can actually click over here on Reflux Shield up at the top. You do save 10% by putting it on subscription. And so that, the goal is we really do. We want to get it down even more, but that's going to require scale. Yes. And so you'll be able to come in here. You can go watch the little graphic that Jeremy built, get all the information on it, the how to use, yada, yada, yada. And yes, we currently have, I believe, about 70 more bottles sitting from the first run, but that will be beginning, to be replaced immediately. And so we are now on production. We're not producing massive amounts at any one time yet, but the goal is to keep scaling up, because some of the different ingredients, especially the poly-L-lysine, is extremely, extremely expensive. And the more that we can get, the larger a single batch that can be made at a time, it's going to be able to convey over to change a lot of things on that side.
Yeah, I didn't mean to go that much into it, but it was a great opportunity to, and it's something I'm very excited about. It's one of our passions because it affects us. Time to start wrapping up, so we're ready for Whiskey and Wisdom tonight. I will do a short news show at 7, Whiskey and Wisdom at 8. I don't know if we're going to have Mike or not. If we do, he'd be at the end because his new time slot. But you have Zester and I'm going to send the link to Andy just in case. He's on his cruise, but he said he may be able to join, so I was going to send it. I'm not looking for him to join. He has great intentions, but his schedule is packed.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. He's a busy guy. He's got important things to do. But I wish we could get him more.
Yeah, amen. Yeah. Until med beds, take care of yourself.
Hey, right. No. Well, I am. I'm looking forward to our Whiskey and Wisdom this evening. So we'll have fun.
All right, folks. I'll see you at news tonight or Whiskey and Wisdom, wherever you're at.
Hey, see you, everybody. Love you.